You think nothing is changing, but everything already has. What you're waiting for is not coming, it's unfolding from within you now. Hold steady in your assumption. Your breakthrough is not ahead of you, it's becoming you, beloved. There comes a moment in the journey of awakening when man must cease looking upon appearances as causes and begin to know them as shadows cast by the light of his own consciousness. This is the great turning, the inner crossing of Jordan, where one no longer mistakes the world for the power, but recognizes it as the echo. For consciousness alone is the reality, the eternal substance from which all things are formed. And what you behold as circumstance is but the delayed reflection of what you have consented to be within yourself. Therefore, if the world seems slow, if the evidence of the senses still whispers of absence, delay, or contradiction, do not be troubled. The movement is already underway, not because outer things are rearranging themselves by force, but because the moment you assumed a new state, the whole vast mechanism of life was compelled to mirror it. This is why I tell you with all the stillness of certainty, God is moving everything in your favor. But God is not outside of you. God is your own wonderful human imagination, the very awareness by which you now hear these words, the silent knower within, the one who can feel, assume, and accept a thing as true. This is the operant power. The movement in your favor began not when the world changed, but when you ceased identifying with the old man and entered the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The outer world, being only a mirror, has no choice but to conform. Yet many stand at the threshold and wonder why the promise delays. They say they have imagined, they have believed, they have entered the scene, and still the old facts remain. But the secret is this: you cannot carry the old man into the new kingdom. No one enters the promised land while clinging to the grave clothes of yesterday. The state you formerly occupied must be released, not fought, not repaired, not argued against, but abandoned. For states are like garments worn by consciousness, and what you call your life is only the visible shape of the garment you have accepted as self. If you would know abundance, you must no longer secretly remember yourself as one who lacks. If you would know love, you must no longer rehearse the memory of abandonment. If you would know peace, you must cease returning in feeling to the chamber of fear. The old state has no life of its own. It survives only by your occupancy. The past is not a power. It is only the residue of former assumptions. It appears real only so long as you continue to dwell in it psychologically. This is the meaning of Scripture, when it tells you to put off the old man and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. It is not moral instruction. It is psychological revelation. The old man is the former concept of self, the familiar identity built from memory, repetition, and acceptance. He is the one who says, "This is simply how my life is." He is the voice that points to facts as final. He is the one who worships appearances and calls them truth. But appearances are never truth. They are only the crystallized body of yesterday's consciousness. The truth is always within. The truth is what you are now consenting to be. So if you have assumed a new state, if inwardly you have dared to feel yourself already blessed, already chosen, already the one you long to become, then do not descend again into the tomb of the former self, simply because the world has not yet caught up. Seeds do not bloom the moment they are planted. Yet the harvest is certain the instant the seed enters the ground. In the same way, assumption contains its own fulfillment. The moment it is accepted, it begins to harden into fact. Do you see now why you must not give up? To give up is not merely to abandon desire. It is to re-enter the old state. It is to identify once more with the man who doubts, who waits, who measures truth by visible proof. But the awakened one knows that proof follows being. Experience does not create consciousness. Consciousness creates experience. Therefore, remain faithful not to the evidence of the senses, but to the unseen reality of your assumption. When the world says nothing has changed, Answer not with words, but with inward stillness. For the one who truly knows does not argue with shadows. He simply remains in the state. He knows that every person, every event, every seeming delay is part of the bridge of incidents, the invisible sequence through which the assumed end objectifies itself. What appears to human reason as randomness is in truth the perfect orchestration of states. God is moving everything in your favor because your assumption has already selected the end and creation being finished. All pathways to that end already exist. You are not making anything happen. You are selecting what already is. This is the great mystical relief. There is no need for struggle, because struggle belongs to the old state. The one that believes reality is external and must be conquered. But reality is not conquered. It is reflected. You do not bend the mirror. You change the face before it. Change of state is the only change. So when the mind tempts you to revisit the old identity, when memory invites you to become again the one who failed, the one who waited, the one who suffered, simply remember that man has no reality unless you wear him. Let him die. Let the former state dissolve by neglect. Do not feed it with reaction, analysis, or remembrance. Withdraw your life from it. Give your feeling only to the new conception of self. Feel what it would mean if it were already so. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now. For now is the only creative moment. Eternity is contained in the present assumption. The kingdom of heaven is not a future event. It is a present state of consciousness. The door is always now. And what you enter now becomes the world you later call fate. So if your desire is to know prosperity, do not ask when money will come. Ask instead, who am I now? Are you being the one for whom supply is natural? Are you inwardly resting in the relief of completion? Or are you still secretly consulting the senses for permission to believe? The outer world can only mirror the dominant inner claim. Therefore, make your claim in consciousness and remain there until it feels like identity rather than technique. This is why feeling is the secret. Feeling is not emotion in the ordinary sense. It is the deep acceptance of reality. It is the inward conviction that a thing is so. When you feel yourself to be already the one, the world must eventually bear witness. It has no freedom in the matter, for the world is yourself pushed out. Every face you meet, every circumstance you encounter, every turn in the road is the dramatization of a state. And because states are impersonal, you are never bound by what has been. At any moment, through a change in self-concept, you may step into another mansion of consciousness and wear a different destiny. This is what it means to say God is moving everything in your favor. The movement is not external effort. It is the law itself, the inevitable rearrangement of visible life to correspond with your invisible acceptance. Once you have assumed the end, the means are already summoned. Doors you cannot yet see are opening in realms beyond the reach of your present senses. Hearts are being softened. Paths are converging. Events are aligning in ways reason could never predict. But all of it is secondary. The primary movement is the shift in being. Remain there. Remain faithful to the unseen. Do not uproot the seed by asking whether it grows. There is a holy patience that belongs to the one who understands the law. Not the patience of waiting, but the stillness of knowing. He does not wait for proof, because he has already accepted fulfillment in consciousness. The thing desired is no longer hoped for. It is remembered inwardly as done. This is the Sabbath of Scripture, the divine rest that follows assumption. You cease from mental labor because the work is finished, and because it is finished, there is nothing to fix. The world you seek already exists as a state, the version of yourself who is loved, prosperous, honored, radiant, secure. That being is not becoming. That being is your only task is to occupy it, to think from it, to feel from it, to remember life from its altitude. Do not say, I am trying to become. Say inwardly, I am. For I am is the name of God. And what follows those words in feeling becomes the mold of experience. If you say, I am still waiting, you animate waiting. If you say, I am chosen, you animate fulfillment. If you say, I am healed, life organizes around wholeness. If you say, I am secure, the world must mirror stability. The law is exact because consciousness is exact. So release the temptation to inspect appearances. The senses are always reporting old news. They are historians, not prophets. They tell you what you have been, not what you are now choosing to be. The prophet is imagination, for imagination sees the unseen and calls it real before the world can testify. Dare to trust this inner vision more than fact. Facts are only yesterday's assumptions made visible. The future is born from today's identity. And if today you choose to remain in the conviction that all things are moving in your favor, then even seeming obstacles will reveal themselves as servants of your fulfilled state. What you once called delay will be seen as preparation. What you called loss will disclose itself as redirection. What you called silence will prove to be the unseen gestation of the promise. Nothing is against the man who knows who he is in consciousness. The whole drama bends around identity. This is why the mystic never asks the world for permission. He does not beg shadows to change. He changes himself and watches the shadows obey. He knows that the outer world is compelled, not persuaded. It has no independent causation. It is the servant of inner assumption. So tonight, as the world grows quiet and the senses begin to soften, enter once more the state you have chosen, not as effort, but as remembrance. Feel the naturalness of already being the one. Let the mind rest in the completed scene. Let the heart accept what the eyes cannot yet confirm. This inward acceptance is the movement of God, and once accepted, do not take it back. Do not descend tomorrow into the language of the old self. Do not narrate the old struggle. Do not identify with the former limitation. Do not give life to what you have chosen to leave behind. The old man dies by abandonment. The new man lives by occupancy. And because the world can only mirror occupancy, your persistence in the new state is the very power that compels manifestation. Not force, not strategy, not external action. Being. Being is the secret throne. From that throne, all visible events receive their command. So when I say do not give up, I am not speaking of human endurance. I am speaking of remaining loyal to your chosen state. Do not give up your identity. Do not surrender the new conception of self merely because appearances are slow to testify. The delay is never denial. It is only the interval required for the invisible pattern to take sensory form. The deeper truth is that it is already done. The moment you truly accepted it, it was done. The bridge may still unfold in time, but the end is secured in consciousness. Therefore, walk in the dignity of inevitability. Think from the end. Feel from completion. Speak inwardly as the one for whom the prayer is already answered. For prayer is not asking, prayer is entering. Enter the state, and the world will enter agreement. Beloved, all things are indeed moving in your favor, because favor is not chance. Favor is the lawful outpicturing of a favored self-concept. Become inwardly the one for whom life always arranges itself harmoniously, and life must reflect that arrangement. The world has no choice but to echo the song you are singing in secret. So sing no more the hymn of the old man. Do not chant the memory of delay. Do not worship the evidence of former assumption. Instead, abide in the still majesty of fulfilled identity. Know that what you have accepted in imagination is truer than what the senses report. Know that creation is finished. Know that you are not waiting on the world. The world is waiting on your fidelity to be. And when you remain there, calm, certain, unmoved, you will witness the great mystery. What once seemed impossible will arrive with the feeling that it could never have been otherwise. For that is the nature of the law. Assumption hardens into fact. Consciousness externalizes itself. Imagination becomes flesh. And God, your own wonderful human imagination, is even now moving everything in your favor. And as this understanding deepens within you, there comes a silence more powerful than any effort of the mind. It is the silence of one who has ceased bargaining with life. No longer do you stand before the world asking whether the promise can be trusted. You stand within yourself knowing that the promise is your own consciousness, objectifying its accepted content. This knowing is not loud. It does not strain. It does not reach outward. It rests as the deep sea rests beneath the waves, unmoved by the surface motions of passing conditions. This is the true meaning of faith. Faith is not hoping that something outside yourself will intervene. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality of your chosen state. It is the refusal to let appearances hypnotize you back into the former identity. For the senses are always loyal to what has already been impressed upon consciousness. They are the faithful servants of yesterday. But imagination is the doorway to tomorrow. And what you enter there in feeling must become the circumstance of your life. So if the old world still appears before you, do not mistake its presence for permanence. The shadow lingers for a moment even after the object has moved. Likewise, the world may continue to reflect the momentum of prior assumptions long after you have inwardly changed. This is why the disciplined mystic never reacts to appearances as though they were final. He sees them as after images, echoes fading from a chamber he no longer occupies. How strange it is that man will trust the mirror more than the face, the echo more than the voice, the effect more than the cause. Yet all suffering begins there in the mistaken worship of shadows. The awakened one reverses this error. He returns to the source. He claims the inner reality as primary and lets the outer world take care of itself. This is what it means to live from the end. To live from the end is to inhabit psychologically the state that would be yours, were the desire already fulfilled. It is not pretending. It is not fantasy in the weak sense men use that word. It is spiritual realism. It is fidelity to the only creative center in existence, awareness itself. When you live from the end, you cease asking how. The how belongs to the bridge of incidents, and the bridge is not your concern. The bridge is the automatic pathway through which the state fulfills itself. 1,000 unseen movements are set in motion the instant you accept the end. Minds are influenced, events are sequenced, opportunities are prepared, and circumstances are woven together with a precision no human planning could equal. Yet all of this is but the shadow play of a deeper fact. You became someone else in consciousness. And because you became someone else, the world must meet you as that someone. This is why the scripture declares that all things work together for good. It is not a sentimental promise. It is a metaphysical law. All things work together in obedience to the state you occupy. If you occupy fear, even blessings are interpreted as threats. If you occupy fulfillment, even obstacles become pathways. The world is not deciding your fate. Your state is deciding the meaning of every event. So choose the state wisely, and once chosen, remain there with the serenity of one who understands that reality has already yielded. Do not be deceived by intervals. Time is only the mercy through which the invisible becomes visible by degrees. But the degree does not alter the certainty. The oak is contained in the acorn the moment it is planted. The harvest is present in seed form before a single shoot breaks the ground. In the same way, your fulfilled life is present in the assumption long before the senses can confirm it. Therefore, the wise man does not measure progress by sight. He measures by identity. He asks only, am I still being the one? If the answer is yes, then the world has already received its command, and the unfolding is inevitable. This is the inner Sabbath. So few understand. It is not passivity. It is not resignation. It is the divine stillness that follows true assumption. It is the calm refusal to re-enter the old state through fear, doubt, or reaction. It is the holy discipline of remaining inwardly where you have chosen to dwell. Remain there even when memory calls. Remain there even when the senses protest. Remain there even when reason offers 100 explanations for delay. Reason is born of the visible world, and therefore can only interpret what has already appeared. But imagination is born of the eternal, and it knows what the senses have not yet seen. Trust the deeper faculty. Trust the one within who can say, though the world has not changed, I know that I have. For the change within is the only cause that has ever existed. The outer drama is but the garment. And if tonight you feel as though life is slow, as though movement is hidden, remember this. What is hidden from sight is not hidden from law. The law is always at work, silent, exact, and unfailing. Every assumption carries within itself the necessity of expression. There is no such thing as a sincere accepted state that fails to externalize. The only question is whether you will remain faithful long enough to let it ripen. Do not return to the tomb. How often man plants the seed in imagination and then digs it up the next morning with doubt. He asks, why is it not here? And in that very question, he reveals that he has left the state of fulfillment and returned to the state of waiting. But waiting is itself a state, and it too must externalize as delay. So abandon waiting. Become now the one who has received. This is not future tense spirituality. It is present tense being. Say not, it will happen. Say inwardly, it is done. Say not, I hope life turns in my favor. No, instead, life already reflects the favor I have accepted as self. For the kingdom responds not to wishful thought, but to identity. Your secret assumptions about yourself are the prayers that are always answered. If secretly you believe life forgets you, life will mirror neglect. If secretly you know yourself to be favored, cherished, and supported, then even what seems accidental will begin to reveal a hidden order of grace. This hidden order is what men call miracle. But there are no miracles in the sense of violations. There is only law understood and law misunderstood. The world calls it miracle because it does not see the imaginal act from which the event proceeded. But you who now awaken to the deeper causation need not be surprised. You will come to recognize that what appears in your world was first accepted in the silence of your own being. So let the silence become sacred to you. Enter it each night as one enters the Holy of Holies. Withdraw attention from the evidence of the senses and return to the secret place of the Most High, which is your own wonderful imagination. There assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it takes on the tones of reality. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the quiet naturalness of already being the one. Then rest. This resting is not laziness. It is trust in law. The farmer does not command the seed to grow every hour. He plants, covers, and trusts the nature of life within it. You must do likewise with your assumption. Plant it in feeling. Cover it with faith. Leave it untouched by fear. Then walk through your days not as one seeking signs, but as one carrying the invisible certainty of fulfillment. Let your inner conversations arise from the accomplished fact. Let your reactions be those of the fulfilled self. Let your posture toward life reveal the identity you have accepted. For identity is destiny. The world is not responding to your fleeting wishes. It is responding to who you consistently are. Become consistent in being the chosen self. This is the pearl of great price, the willingness to give up all other beliefs, all competing self-concepts, all divided loyalties to former states, and purchase the one truth that consciousness alone creates reality. Once you truly buy this pearl, you no longer consult external conditions as causes. You no longer fear people, timing, markets, luck, or circumstance. You know there is only one cause, and that cause is your awareness of being. Then even the phrase "don't give up" takes on a higher meaning. It no longer means endure hardship like the world endures. It means do not give up the new name you have taken upon yourself. Do not surrender the state of fulfillment for the comfort of familiar misery. Do not trade certainty for visible evidence. Do not descend from the throne of I am into the dust of appearances. Stay enthroned. Remain inwardly crowned by the identity you have chosen. For the crown is consciousness itself, and the one who wears it knowingly rules events without touching them. Sooner or later, and always at the appointed hour, the world will bend into the exact likeness of your accepted self. Then what once felt invisible will stand before you clothed in fact. Doors will open in ways no logic could script. People will say it was luck, timing, coincidence, favor, or chance. But you will know. You will know it was the lawful outpicturing of a state you refused to abandon. And in that moment, the fulfillment will feel strangely natural, almost obvious, because manifestation always arrives with the atmosphere of inevitability. It appears as though it had always been moving toward you, because in truth, it had. The moment you accepted the state, every thread of life began weaving toward that end. So let this truth settle into the deepest chamber of your being. Nothing is delayed, except by returning to the old self. Nothing is denied except by divided consciousness. Nothing is impossible except to the identity that still worships appearances. But to the one who knows himself as imagination, all things are already available as states awaiting occupancy. Choose then the state of divine favor. Wear it as naturally as your own name. Think from it, feel from it, sleep in it, rise in it. Move through the world with the quiet majesty of fulfilled being. For God is not someday moving things in your favor. God is now in this eternal moment, arranging every visible detail according to the invisible pattern you have accepted as yourself. Remain faithful, and the pattern must appear. Such is the law, such is the promise, such is the inevitable mercy of consciousness made visible. This is Neville Lectures.